Dramatic sweep over the Pirates this weekend. Tight games, fun games.
Yeah, the win-loss record, obviously the most important stat on there. But how about the job the Cardinals bullpen has done? Extra innings, your bullpen needs to be sharp. And today, your starter needs to be sharp because the bullpen's a bit tired after the last couple of days. Look at Carlos Martinez's numbers: 4 starts, 3-0 record, low ERA. And he has been, for the most part, Dan, pounding the strike zone.
Dexter Fowler looks at his strike, and we're underway. The first of 4. All 4 games on Fox Sports Midwest. The Hyundai pitch arsenal for Martinez. Fowler comes to Chicago from Houston for Luis Valbuena and pitcher Dan Straley, career .271 hitter. And how about the Houston Astros? The Cardinals are hot. Houston has won 10 straight.
Interesting to look at that lineup. I'm not sure how they're doing it. Altuve is just red hot at the top of the lineup. At the middle of the lineup, 3 guys all hitting under 200, yet they can't lose.
There's a 2-1 pitch. Now 2-2.
Danny, we saw the pitch arsenal of Carlos Martinez, and I think that's been part of his growth as a starter, which is where we think he feels most comfortable anyway, as a starter instead of in that bullpen role. But he's been able to incorporate the curveball and the changeup much better as a starter this season.
2-2, misses outside. That changeup against lefties, obviously a difference maker for him.
Good downward movement. Really sells it well.
3-2 pitch, and he missed. So leadoff walk for Joe Maddon's club and Dexter Fowler. His lineup: Chris Coghlan will bat second, then Anthony Rizzo hitting .321. Chris Bryant still looking for that first home run in the big leagues. Miguel Montero, Starlin Castro, Chris Denorfia. The pitcher is batting 8th. That's Travis Wood. Addison Russell playing second base and batting 9th. So here's Coghlan, who's in left field today, batting .212.
Coghlan, former National League Rookie of the Year, one of 4 left-handers in this lineup for Joe Maddon. And it's our first chance to see here in St. Louis this young Cubs ball club. Coghlan's still fairly young, but boy, Joe Maddon has a lot of kids and a lot of talent to lead here this season.
There's Chris Bryant. He'll bat cleanup. Standing there with Joe Maddon. Quick move, and they almost got Fowler.
Had his hands on his knees, so he kind of had to start from a kind of a dead stop. He didn't really seem ready for that particular move, and Martinez almost got him. 7 for 8 in stolen bases. Certainly a threat. Molina not in the lineup.
With all the innings yesterday and over the weekend, Molina gets a rest. Adams, with a lefty on the mound, sits. So a few changes in the Cardinals lineup, and there's a look at Tony Cruz behind the plate. Way inside. That pitch at 95 miles an hour.
My understanding is that Yadi wasn't necessarily overjoyed to find out that he was not in the lineup, which is what you'd want him to say, and that would be the reaction you'd be looking for. He wasn't looking for a day off. He wasn't asking for a day off. He loves playing this game, and I think he feels a responsibility with every starting pitcher every 5th day to help him get better. And certainly in the case of Carlos Martinez, he'd be especially important to him.
The word responsibility also applies for Mike Matheny, as Martinez already upset with the strike zone, but it's a responsibility of a manager to tell a veteran, a leader, hey, for the betterment of the long haul of the season, we are going to have you sit tonight.
Agreed.
John Hirschbeck, crew chief, calling the balls and strikes.
I think Hirschbeck has been right on with his calls, but after what the Cardinals have been used to the last couple of days, as wide a strike zone as we've seen in a long time from the last umpiring crew. Hirschbeck is the crew chief of this group here, and I tell you, we saw a lot of strikes about 3 or 4 inches off the plate the last couple of days.
3-1 pitch from Martinez. Back-to-back walks. Cardinals defense for game one with Matt Holliday in left, John Jay in center. Jason Hayward is in right. Carpenter, Peralta, Wong, and Reynolds along the infield. Behind the plate, Tony Cruz, and Martinez on the mound. Interesting, after two batters, it's not the pitching coach, it's the manager, bilingual, mind you, and Mike Matheny saying, let's go, boys.
Well, I think Mike has a very special relationship with Carlos Martinez. Dan, you talked in a earlier telecast this year about their connection when Mike brought young kids to the Dominican Republic and had Carlos speak to them. And I think he had a really kind of important, you might say, fatherly or older brother relationship, at least with Carlos, that started there and has maybe continued. So I think he had a very specific message there for Martinez to maybe stop complaining about the strike zone and just pound it. Let me yell at the home plate umpire, who, by the way, hasn't been wrong.
Anthony Rizzo, on base percentage leader in the National League at .471. Takes a pitch low. He comes in hot, riding a 12-game hitting streak. We talk about John Jay being hit by pitches. Rizzo has been hit 8 times to lead the league. Runners at first and second, nobody out. 1-0 pitch to Rizzo. 2 balls and no strikes.
So we've talked about at the Open, Carlos Martinez has been pounding the strike zone. That's exactly what he's not doing in the early going here. He's missing outside, coming off his pitches just a bit, maybe being a little too fine.
The 2-0. Rizzo with a fly ball lifted down the left field line and out of play. Busch Stadium still filling up. Expecting over 40,000 on this Monday night. Cardinals have already sold 2.9 million tickets, and we're playing here on May 4th, trending to 3.5 million. Outfield is straight away and deep for Rizzo. Anthony Rizzo, originally drafted by Theo Epstein when he was with Boston, then traded to the Padres for Adrian Gonzalez, who, by the way, is the National League Player of the Month, announced this afternoon by Major League Baseball and the National League. Rizzo wound up in Chicago in the Andrew Cashner deal, the hard-throwing right-hander, now with the Padres, and Rizzo reunited with Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer. Two balls and 2 strikes. When Theo Epstein was GM of the Red Sox, 2009, they signed 17-year-old Carlos Matias. 4 weeks into his tenure in Boston and the Dominican Academy, Major League Baseball figured out it was actually Carlos Martinez, and that deal was voided, and any team could sign him. The Cardinals swooped in and got him. Cardinals grabbed Carlos Martinez for $1.5 million. In the scheme of things in the baseball world, to have a starter at what he's making now, it's chump change. That's the baseball world.
What a crazy road for Carlos Martinez, too.
2-2, lifted into left field. Long way to go for Holliday near the line. He's there, makes the catch. Runners back to second and first.
He's been staying away from hitters, and he does again there. That pitch running off the plate. What I didn't like about what Martinez did there, and often pitchers will get in the habit of doing it, you're checking the runner so long at second base, he still had his head on second base as he was turning and beginning his motion to the plate. And I think that makes it much more difficult to have pinpoint control. You're not going to hold the runner there just by looking at him. The only way you hold him there is by throwing there, and once you start your motion home, your target ought to be the glove of Tony Cruz.
Here is Chris Bryant, and another check on Fowler. Bryant, a power hitter, 43 home runs last year in the minor leagues at AAA. Started the season at AAA, one of the most talked about stories to begin the year. Why wasn't he with the Cubs? Well, the Cubs get an extra year before he hits free agency by starting his clock just a little bit later. One thing these young Cubs will do, they will strike out a lot. We saw that last year with Baez. Soler, who's not in a lineup. Baez is at AAA. A lot of strikeouts, but a lot of potential.
Things you worry about in this inning is Carlos has shown, at least now, that he does not have command of his breaking pitch. He's spinning it, and he's tried to throw it a couple of times, and it just sat up in the zone. And so the Cub hitters, if they're smart, and they are, they're big leaguers, they're going to kind of just spit on the curveball and look fastball. Makes hitting a lot easier when you're looking for just one pitch.
Here's a 2-0. Going back to the strikeouts, Rick, and I think it's so interesting. Stan the Man in 3,026 games. In terms of a 4 strikeout game and a 3 strikeout game, he only did it once. Chris Bryant has been in the league for a couple of weeks. He's done it once. Addison Russell has been in the league for 10 days. He's done it. Just to give you an idea how incredibly talented and unbelievable Stan Musial was in his career.
There's that last delivery still coming off it a bit. You can see Carlos' arm dropping just a little bit. Needs to stay closed just a tad longer. Ball's kind of flying out to the right, to the inside half against right-handers.
And that's taken high. So 3 walks in the inning here in the first for Carlos Martinez. Bases are loaded. Our Toyota keys to the game.
Well, we're experiencing one of the keys right now. Will Carlos Cruz or not? Meaning, how will he work with Tony Cruz with Yadier Molina not behind the plate? Will he keep his winning ways? It's been really terrific this season. And the one knock on wood, the pitcher for the Cubs today is he hasn't pitched well against the Cardinals. He's off to a good start, but can the Cardinals, who hit him well, continue to do so? Like Matt Holliday.
Miguel Montero. Bases loaded. And that pitch in the dirt.
Very much out of whack right here.
The Cardinals can ill afford a short start from Martinez tonight. Thinking about the availability of some of the relievers and all the innings that have piled up, especially over the weekend and especially yesterday. The 1-0. That's driven into center field, base hit. 1 run is in. Here comes another. 2-0 Chicago. Miguel Montero with RBIs 11 and 12.
You and I, Danny, when Montero signed with the Chicago Cubs, we both thought this could be kind of an under-the-radar important move for them. He can flat out hit the ball. He's very good in the RBI department. He gets the Cubs out on top here in the first inning, and Carlos Martinez has himself to blame for that. He just can't find the strike zone, and when you can't find the zone, you end up kind of laying one down central, and that's what happens.
Starlin Castro, runners at first and second, and 1 out. A strike to Castro. He's off to a good start, hitting .309. 2 home runs. He's driven in 12.
So limit the damage, move on, don't overthrow from here. That's not the right fix. And young pitchers sometimes try to do that, just try to throw the ball as hard as they can and hope something better happens.
That's a base hit, center field. 3-0 Chicago. Castro with a base hit.
Three walks, 3 Cubs runs across the plate. Not a bad breaking pitch right there. Maybe a little flat, but give Castro credit on that particular hit. That's going to happen. Unfortunately, the walks are the real killer.
Chris Denorfia is in right field today. And hitting .368. No home runs, no RBIs. Runners at first and second, and still only one out. A walk to Fowler, then Coghlan. Rizzo flied out to left. Bryant the walk to load him up. Montero is single to score 2. Castro is single to score 1.
Danny, clearly this is not how Carlos Martinez wanted to start this game, or Mike Matheny. As you mentioned, the bullpen still very thin for the Cardinals. But what a great test this is for Carlos Martinez. What's he going to do with this test? I mean, clearly there's adversity. He's caused it. He's part of it. But can he mentally get out of this and give 5 or 6 innings somehow, give his team a chance to win? I mean, we'll see. But that's how he has to view it right now. Not the frustration of what's already happened, but can I find a way to keep this close?
2-1 the count. Ground ball up the middle. That's a base hit. The Cubs pouring it on here in the first inning. 4-0 Chicago. First RBI for Denorfia this year. T-Mobile game changer. Right now you have to be thinking about the bullpen, and Mike Matheny is backed into a corner because of all the usage of guys over the weekend.
Well, the two things you think about the Cardinals bullpen right now on this date at this time is, number one, they're doing a great job, and number two, they need some rest. Numbers have been fantastic, just the 1 earned run allowed, all the extra innings, all the zeros they put up, but there's a lot of innings left in this game. Obviously, Martinez has to find a way to get on track. We've already had the visit from Mike Matheny, so no chance for another one. Maybe it's time for Tony Cruz to have a chat with Carlos.
One out and 2 on. 1-0 pitch to Travis Wood. Again, the pitcher batting 8th, and then Addison Russell batting 9th.
And he can hit. 9 career home runs for Travis Wood. He's pinch hit twice already for Joe Maddon.
One and 2. On the heels of this start, look at that. Villanueva's already up. Tomorrow you have Tyler Lyons. You don't know what's going to happen with him either. Coming up from the minor leagues. That's a base hit into left on a 1-2 pitch. Throw by Holiday is cut off by Martinez, and it's 5-0 Chicago. 4 consecutive hits, 3 walks in the inning, a 5-0 Chicago lead. And Tony Cruz has got to go out and visit at this point, don't you?
Very lonely position right now if you're Carlos Martinez. Nothing going right.
Addison Russell, a ground ball that's hit left side. Out at second. Tough turn and safe at first. Wong made that close. A very tough play.
Here's the turn. Nice footwork by Colton Wong. He did everything he could to get that over to first base. Interestingly, he might have had a better shot at the runner going to third, who had to low bridge the throw from Matt Carpenter, although that would have been an odd way to go about it. He did the right thing, but Russell ran quickly enough, and that means we get Dexter Fowler for the second time in the first inning.
Runners at the corners, 2 down. If you're Mike Matheny and Derek Lilliquist too, Rick, are you watching body language
Well,
seeing how the young player deals with this?
Yeah, that's the test I'm talking about. I mean, this is clear. I mean, it's easy. I mean, when you're feeling good and pitching well, that's easy. But what do you do when things aren't so easy? That's where it becomes a real challenge. And you find out more about yourself. Your manager and pitching coach find out about you, and I think they're hoping for 3 or 4 innings somehow out of Carlos Martinez in this game right now.
1-2.
And the problem is he hasn't been able to establish anything because he's been behind in the count with his fastball. If the fastball is not a strike, then it's hard to establish a changeup because you change up off of your fastball.
2-2 the count. First time that Martinez has allowed 5 earned runs in one game in his career. Now time is called. Opponents came in hitting just 191 against Martinez. Breaking ball. And he doesn't get the call. You won't get those borderline pitches if you haven't been throwing strikes. 3-2 the count.
40 pitches already. That's 3 innings worth of pitches here in the first.
3-2 pitch. Knocked out of play. The excitement of the weekend to a screeching halt here in the first inning. The 3-2 pitch on its way. The fly ball lifted into shallow left center. John Jay is there, puts it away. 3 walks, 4 consecutive hits, 5 runs in the top of the first for Joe Maddon's club. Cardinals. Followed by Carpenter and Holiday, then Reynolds, Peralta, Hayward, Wong, Cruz, and Martinez.
Do-over.
Woof.
You ever used to say that, Danny?
Oh, yeah.
Playing in the backyard.
Wiffle ball.
Oh, yeah. Get a bad start, something happens.
Do-over.
Got to go have lunch or something, or you get a bad start to the game, you just say do-over. Well, you can't do that at this level. Unfortunately, you've got to find a way to beat Travis Wood, who was an all-star a couple seasons ago, and off to a good start this year after a disastrous 2014. He had trouble throwing strikes, but he's back working on that strike zone again. 5-pitch pitcher, a Hyundai pitch arsenal. 60% fastball. He's pretty much right over the top of that fastball. But he has good off-speed selection.
Quickly, no balls, 2 strikes on John Jay. And Jay hit by the pitch on an 0-2. 4th time that John Jay's been hit by a pitch this year. A look at the Cubs defensively with Coghlan, Fowler, and Denorfia in the outfield. Bryant, Castro, Russell, and Rizzo along the infield. Montero behind the plate. Wood on the mound. Dobbs Tire and Auto Center's defense.
So it's going to be one of those games, huh?
Could be. Here's Matt Carpenter hitting .365. 4 home runs. He's driven in 16. Cardinals start play 4.5 games in front of the Cubs, 6.5 in front of Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Milwaukee has a new manager, 11.5 games out. Ron Renneke fired late last night. Craig Counsell, Milwaukee native, played 16 years in the big leagues, and he takes over as their manager. Signed a 3-year contract.
You can kind of see that coming. Not just what's happened early in this year for the Brewers, but really their tailspin from the year ago when they were in first place and thought that the playoffs were right around the corner.
Popped up. Rizzo wants it and has it for the out. Here's Holiday hitting .321. 1 home run. He's driven in 14. Tonight is 20th game against the Cubs at home since the start of the 2013 season. And in that time, 8 home runs against Chicago. And he drills that into right center field. One hops off the wall. Jay racing to third. And it's a ground rule double. That ball got out there in a hurry.
It's so quickly that Holiday loses an RBI because it bounces hard. Well, first of all, he hits it hard. I mean, he just crushes this ball. Good low ball hitter. We've often said that. And here's the hard bounce, and it hits off the top of the wall and into the Cardinals bullpen. So a ground rule double means John Jay has to stay at third.
Johnny Peralta hitting .308, pair of home runs, and has driven in 12. This becomes an important at bat here for the Cardinals. Just get something across the board. Scoots away from Montero, but all runners staying put.
You don't really want to settle into a 5-0 game. You get a few runs back, and all of a sudden it doesn't feel quite so bad. And again, you get that glimmer of hope that you always want to have in baseball, that Martinez can somehow figure out how to put a few zeros on the board and get back in this game.
Here's a 1-0 pitch.
Well, the Cardinals have 2 pitching coaches today. One of them's number 4.
Two balls, no strikes. 3-0. Reynolds on deck. Cardinals on their bench tonight with Adams from the left side, Molina, Borges, and Cosma. 4-man bench. Extra reliever. Walked him. Bases loaded here for St. Louis. One of those nights, huh?
I didn't really check. Are the stars aligned differently? Is there something going on with the planets I don't know about? Thought you might know that, Dan.
No, sir. Jay was hit on an 0-2 pitch. Carpenter popped out. Double for Holiday. Walk to Peralta. And Reynolds puts it out of play. Mark saying the other day, still trying to get accustomed to the role of not playing every day. But he's received plenty of at-bats. Played him in right, left, now at first. Reynolds with a high fly ball, deep left field. Get going! Grand slam! Cardinals right back in this, baby! He smoked it in the bullpen. Grand slam! Reynolds!
Some fans have been saying, I want to see more offense. Well, you're watching the right game. 5-4 already. The react from the Cardinals bench. I like that hug of Mark Reynolds and Carlos Martinez at the end of that line, too.
Right back in the game are the Cardinals. Hayward, base hit into right. Well,
that's exactly why the Cardinals signed Mark Reynolds. right-handed pop, chance to be a game changer with one swing of the bat. Yes, he strikes out a lot, but he also does this a lot. 20 home runs a year in his career. Nice, easy swing. You know, he doesn't really for a guy that strikes out, he doesn't overswing a lot. When he hits it, he just kind of gets the barrel on it and has tremendous power. What a first inning we've seen. Crazy.
9 runs combined here in the first inning. Now Colton Wong, the hero from yesterday. I don't know if you noticed or if many fans noticed where the ball wound up that Wong hit yesterday. That is one of the longest home runs we have seen from this side of the plate. Over the bullpen, over the seats, and into the second row of those seats.
421 feet. Clearly a no-doubter in a game that was lacking offense. He provided offense in a hurry with that swing. Fun moment.
Inside, take it for a strike, and it's 1-2.
So I said there'd be a test for Carlos Martinez. Now there's a test for this young Chicago Cub team. Comes into St. Louis, get off on top. Okay, got a little swagger going. Well, maybe that swagger's gone. So how do they react as a team?
Wong jammed and a foul ball. Just seemed to wake everybody up with one swing of the bat. A blast by Mark Reynolds, his second home run. Now with 8 RBIs on the year.
Kind of glad we didn't get that do-over now.
Two and two. This year, 12 attempts on Montero. He has caught 2. The catcher, Hayward, good speed at first. Wood thinking the same thing and checks on the runner. So this is yesterday. Colton Wong. How about that? I think Matt Adams, maybe Carpenter gets into one like that, but
maybe
Colton
Hayward.
Wong, yeah, Hayward another one. But he has surprising pop, and it wouldn't surprise, I don't think, anybody to see 15 to 20 home runs.
Certainly capable of it.
So an offensive explosion here tonight for both teams. The 2-2. And it's held on to by Montero. First strikeout for Travis Wood.
Really just a fastball up in the zone. That wasn't a great location, although teams will try to pitch Wong up occasionally. I think that was a dangerous spot there. Just swung through it.
What's interesting is that Mark Reynolds has primarily done his damage against right-handed pitching. And I believe that's his first hit against a lefty this year.
A memorable one.
A grand slam. Cardinals with a double from Holiday. Grand slam from Reynolds. A single by Hayward. Jay hit by a pitch. A walk to Peralta. A little bit of everything. 2 balls and no strikes. Could be a battle of the bullpens here tonight, the way that this is shaping up.
So Carlos Martinez saw the Cubs bat around in the top of the first, and he may get to bat himself in the bottom of the first.
The 2-0. Now 3-0. Travis Wood seems to be a bit unnerved.
Already thinking, both managers, about where is this game going and how do I get a handle on it. You wonder about the long delay for Travis Wood as he watched Martinez throw 40-plus pitches in the top of the inning. Whether maybe he lost his touch a bit before going out for the bottom of the first inning. 25 pitches himself.
So 2 outs and 2 on. Base hit could tie it up.
And time for a visit. That's Chris Bosio. Well, then nothing frustrates a pitching coach more. And frankly, the pitcher, Travis Wood, is given a 5-0 lead in the top of the first inning, and he's walked a couple of hitters here in the bottom of the first. He's kind of been, I mean, again, an all-star 2 years ago. This guy was a terrific pitcher, and again, we mentioned he's had trouble against the Cardinals, but he did not expect to give that lead back so quickly.
So Chris Bosio, 4th year in Chicago, kept on by Joe Maddon. Quick visit with his pitcher. 1 ball and no strikes on Carlos Martinez, the 9th man to come to the plate this inning. Pitch number 27 here from the lefty.
The way this first inning has gone, we're going to have to add something other than just a 7th inning stretch.
Almost had that yesterday.
14th. I just think we may need one in the 4th.
1-2 the count on Martinez. Cardinals wearing the OT patch for Oscar Taveras. The Cubs have a patch for Ernie Banks as he passed away before spring training.
What a wonderful man. Had the privilege of getting to meet Ernie Banks a number of occasions, and just always a happy guy. Yep. Let's play 2.
The strikeout of Martinez. Wood strikes out 2. He walks 2. Gives up 3 base hits. And one of those a grand slam. Reynolds knew it. Cards and Martinez back in the game. Mark Reynolds, grand slam. Cubs sent 10 men to the plate in the top of the first to score 5. First time since 2002 a starters allowed 5 runs in the first inning. Jason Simon-Tachi, August 2nd at Atlanta. In that game, 9 earned runs. Travis Smith, also in 2002. Remember Travis Smith? He gave up 6.
Simo gave up 9 runs? Wait a minute, he's our Double-A pitching coach.
So though he can help guys and get through times like these.
Good spin. And he can, by the way. Simo's great. Dear friend. I just think he's going to be upset to hear that he made our telecast in an infamous way.
Chris Coghlan, Anthony Rizzo, and Chris Bryant.
When I think of Simon-Tachi, I think of the start that he made at Wrigley Field after the passing of Darryl Kyle. And that was just a, boy, somber day and a tough day for him and his teammates. And he had to be the one to go out there and pitch that first game back. And I never forget that moment, being there at Wrigley Field and Joe Girardi announcing to the audience the day before that there would be no game. And then, of course, Mike Matheny so front and center in that because he was such a dear friend of Darryl's.
1-2 pitch. And a strikeout from Martinez. He says that's more like it.
Well, that's the corner he wasn't getting in the first inning, and maybe that's just a little bit better pitch, or maybe we've had enough runs already, according to John Hirschbeck. There's the delivery of Martinez. Very important for him to stay moving forward, and really a lot of recoil in that delivery. He's hits the ground, and he's moving backwards almost at the same time instead of going through to the plate.
Rizzo with a fly ball out to deep right center field. John Jay looks up, and it just sneaks over the wall. Anthony Rizzo, 4th home run. He's coming off a 32 home run campaign and an all-star selection a year ago, and it's now 6-4 Chicago.
Well, Rizzo didn't get to contribute in that 5-run first inning, so he makes his presence felt here in the top of the second with a long home run.
Okay, KB.
Chris Bryant walked and scored back in the first inning. 0-2.
Very rushed delivery on that last pitch from Carlos Martinez, and you know, he's trying to find it right now. He's trying to feel for what delivery is working, but that was way rushed compared to what we've seen him do. He's just moving so quickly to the plate, as opposed to kind of that nice smooth start and then explode. He's kind of in a rush to get it there, and maybe overthrowing a bit.
You see him falling off towards the first base side more so tonight.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Previous starts, which he's going to do anyway.
Yeah, he's going to do that a little bit, and that's not 100% bad, but you have to do it with some command, and he's just out of whack, and it happens. And very small adjustments you have to make, and you got to make them on the fly.
The 2-2.
Body way in front of his arm on that last delivery. That's the best way to explain it. His arm was way dragging behind his body, rushing to the plate, everything dragging. It can't help but to be high and into a right hand. Here's what we're talking about, Dan. It's the body going so fast, he's already going to the plate, and his arm's back, and so by the time he releases the ball, the ball's not out in front of it. Sometimes the pitching coach will say, release it in front of you, and that's not exactly what happens, but you have to feel that adjustment. Body and arm have to be in sync with a good delivery.
3-2. Pulled foul. It's been a total rebuild for the Chicago Cubs. Bryant maybe the centerpiece of this, but they've got Rizzo and Soler and Jake Arrieta, Addison Russell, John Lester, Miguel Montero, Joe Madden. The nucleus of the team is so young, in particular on the infield. (3-2). It's sharply to third and off of Carpenter and into left field. Dizziness yesterday for Carpenter as he left after he had homered to make it 1-0.
Sharply hit, kind of handcuffs Matt Carpenter.
Still no ruling on whether it's a hit or an error. So 1 out. Bryant at first. Here's Montero, who singled in 2 back in the first inning. And an error is given to Carpenter. Cruz throws behind and save at first. is Bryant.
Bryant getting the secondary lead. Snap throw. Good tag. Really good all the way around.
It's the 4th error on Matt Carpenter. 1 ball and no strikes on Miguel Montero.
You know, you have the added problem if you're Mike Matheny, not to make it sound worse, Danny, but it's a fact. You can't exactly get your bullpen up every inning either, because when you've got guys that haven't thrown a lot, you get a guy up 2 or 3 times in a game. Typically, you get him up 3 times and you set them down and they don't come in. So if Martinez doesn't have any quick 1, 2, 3 innings, Mike's got some problems. Going to have to find creative ways to get guys ready when he's ready to pull that trigger.
2 balls, 1 strike on Montero. Spent 9 years in the Diamondbacks organization, a 2-time All-Star. He was acquired for 2 minor league pitchers. Ground ball. Reynolds out at second. Back to first. Double play. That's what he needed. 3-6-3 on the double play.
Lightheadedness. Said he didn't feel right all game, even when he homered in the 4th inning. He said at one point it was so bad he felt like he was going to pass out. They got him out of there. He was dehydrated. He told me he got an IV and was feeling better quickly. He started thinking about today's game and possibly not starting. Matt said, quote, "I wasn't ready for that." He started lobbying Mike Matheny immediately after the game yesterday. Said he had to talk Matheny into it, but the good news, Carpenter says he's hydrated, he's 100%, and he's in the starting lineup. But Dan, it took some talking with Mike Matheny to get it done last night.
Yeah, and you look at the lineup here tonight. Matt Adams sitting out in a move that obviously has paid off with a Reynolds grand slam.
Right.
You already have Molina sitting, so Carpenter playing tonight. Here's an 0-2 pitch. Jay puts it in play. And that's Starlin Castro ranging to his left for the out. Matt Carpenter, our BJC Healthcare difference maker. It was he, along with Adrian Gonzalez, the top 2 in terms of the National League Player of the Month. It went to Gonzalez. But what a start this has been for Matt Carpenter.
Up in so many different offensive categories: runs, hits, average, the extra base hits, the multi-hit games have really defined his early season, and Cardinals are red hot with him in that second spot. 2 things have happened. Matt Carpenter hitting second, they're 6-0, and Mark Reynolds delivering the lineup card 6 days in a row.
How about that, huh?
I think players aren't, well, some would say creatures of habit, others would say superstition.
Now it's 0-2.
And Dan, I did get one thing cleared up by many of our followers on Twitter. They have informed you and I that there is in fact a full moon today.
That explains it.
We knew something was going on.
The 0-2 pitch to Carpenter. Trying to go up, and he fouls it back. 2 straight years Matt Carpenter has been the Cardinals Heart and Hustle Award winner. Great respect for Matt inside that clubhouse. Not just what he does in terms of the numbers that he puts up, but the amount of time and dedication, the work, the effort.
I think you could probably just keep giving him the award, let him keep it at home, and just wait till he's done and then worry about giving it to somebody else.
We go to spring training. He's there at 5:30 in the morning. Lights are on in the cages. Still dark outside. Banging away in there.
You're there at 5:30 in the morning.
Well,
I just hear about it.
Backhanded by Russell, and to first. Rizzo the pick. Nicely done. Addison Russell picked up for Jeff Samardzija in the deal last year with the Oakland A's. He is a natural shortstop. And that'll be something the Cubs have to figure out as the years go on, or the months in this season go on. Cardinals is he better suited at shortstop or second?
Well, the Cardinals are going to want to challenge this, and I think they're going to lose it. Mike Matheny saying it, and then he changed his mind because I think he would lose that challenge. He was standing out, pointing, and I think thought better of it. One more look from the reverse angle. Is the ball in the back of the glove now? Yes, he's out. Good call.
Here's Holiday, ground rule double to right center.
You know what I loved about that, Dan, is Mike came out and was talking to the first base umpire, Bill Welke, and saying, I might want to challenge that. And Bill just nodded his head like, I understand it. So it's not. I think one of the things that's happened with the replay is umpires have realized that they don't have the chip on their shoulder about being asked. And I think one of the reasons is they're finding out they're right a lot. So they don't take it personally. They know replays in the game. It's not. I mean, they understand managers should use it. I think it's made them less defensive.
That was the aspect of introducing it into the game that was probably the hardest part of it, convincing the umpires that this is a good thing. I mean, who wants to be second guessed with split second decisions like they make? The 2-1 pitch. Now 3-1. I will say this, I think the strike zone is fairly tight. Now I know Fox Tracks will show that it's been a consistent zone, but John Hirschbeck, the strike zone is fairly tight.
I think it's because we're used to what we've been used to.
Maybe so.
Honestly, the last couple of days, everything was a strike. There's
3-2.
That's almost the pitch that Carlos has wanted. That's about the same spot, and it's off the plate. But that's been a strike for the last couple of days, more often than not.
Previous pitch was better than that one. Strikeout of Holiday. Third strikeout for Travis Wood, and we have played 2 here at Busch Stadium. 6-4 Chicago. Sandwich and by Ford, official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. Top of the third, 6-4 Chicago. It's Castro, DeNorfia, and Wood. And a ground ball that's pulled foul. Over our billboards, we had a shot of the Cardinals Hall of Fame, and one of the areas you can venture into. The newest Hall of Famers: Ted Simmons, Bob Forge, Kurt Flood, George Kissel.
Great class.
My understanding is Ted Simmons is here at the ballpark today.
Working.
He's a scout for Seattle. Made his debut when he was 18 years old, 1968. One of the great hitting catchers of all time, and I'm not sure you would agree, but I think should be in Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame.
I would agree.
1-2 the count on Castro. Then you have a player like Bob Forsch, who is an integral part of so many good teams and an outstanding teammate, as you have always told me that.
He's always teaching the younger players, and think about kind of the consummate veteran, wise teammate. That's Bob Forsch, and a very good pitcher along with that.
And a former third baseman was Bob Forsch, then converted into a pitcher.
You think about teaching the game in the Cardinals organization. One of the other members is George Kissel. I have such a great fondness for, having been around George and missed George. Passed a few years ago after spending so many years in the minor leagues. He taught a lot of managers how to manage it. Not only he signed by Branch Rickey, played in the minor leagues, then coached in the minor leagues, coached in the big leagues with Red, but he taught Sparky Anderson how to manage. He taught Joe Torre how to manage. I mean, this guy taught teachers. And so glad that he was included in this Hall of Fame class.
Chris DeNorfia at the plate, 0-2. Told John Mabry, you must be a coach, be a manager, but give back. It's one of the main reasons why John is in uniform now. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Kurt Flood also a part of the Hall of Fame class, and there's a look at Ted Simmons. Theo Epstein was down there as well, next to Ted, and a base hit into right field. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD with MLB.TV Premium, #1 live streaming sports service. Highlights, look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and more. Blackout and other restrictions may apply. Visit MLB.TV.
Not only was Ted Simmons a great player, but one of the first things I always think about with Ted, Dan, and you know you've been around him some, but if you talk to Ted Simmons for 5 minutes, he will use 3 words that you've never heard before. I mean, you talk about a smart cat. He is just extremely intellectual about just a broad spectrum of things, including baseball, and has spent his time in the game scouting and being a general manager and working in development. I mean, he's kind of done it all. And so you talk about Hall of Fame, it's just not as a player. He has really given his life to baseball.
Arguably one of the most impactful players in the history of the game is Curt Flood. Tremendous player, but it paved the way what he did with the reserve clause for free agency in baseball, and so many players have obviously enjoyed the contracts, the money, and much of that credit goes to Curt Flood. 1 ball, 1 strike on Travis Wood.
Ted and Curt similar in the fact that they're both kind of Renaissance men, and that's what I thought of about Curt Flood. Just kind of very artsy and kind of had a kind of free-thinking way about him, and certainly that defines Ted. Very much involved in the Players Association. He was the league rep for years. Well respected among his peers.
Had the chance to take in a lot of SLU basketball games with Ted Simmons. He is there, it seems like, just about every game, every home game for the Billikens. Here's a 1-2 pitch. And a foul ball. Travis Wood singled. Picked up an RBI on an 0-2 pitch back in the first inning when the Cubs sent 10 to the plate.
Teddy, for a long time, involved in the St. Louis Art Museum, member of their board of directors. And you think about baseball, board of directors of art museums, I would say he's probably the only one ever. Just guessing.
One-two pitch, and that's tapped foul. 929 RBIs for Ted Simmons, 7th all-time in franchise history. 6-time All-Star, won the Silver Slugger back in 1980. Set the National League record for hits by a catcher with 188 in a single year. Pulled foul.
Carlos just can't have a quick inning, can he? I mean, it's what we've been hoping for, so we could maybe get through 4. I think 5 may be pushing it, even with the number of pitches he threw in that first inning. But boy, it'd be nice if he could get a couple of outs with 1 pitch here.
And the 1-2. Strikeout of Wood. So 2 strikeouts in the inning, 3 tonight for Carlos Martinez. So some of the numbers for Ted Simmons.
3 times a top 10 finisher for the MVP. And WAR, we know about that stat. It's a very popular stat to kind of judge how good one player is from another. 7th best all time among Cardinal players. So you know his impact. He could flat out hit.
If you look at the era in which he played, the teams that he played on struggled here in St. Louis. Didn't get a lot of fanfare, postseason appearances. So
I think that's what hurts.
That hurts him. There's no doubt. And the 1-0 pitch to Addison Russell. 1 ball, 1 strike.
just reminded me, Dan, I have a book that somebody sent me, and I was so anxious to read this offseason, The Forgotten Players of the 70s. And the problem is I forgot to read it.
Well, the title just fits exactly what you're looking for.
Isn't that the story, though? I mean, I'm really interested in it, in studying Cardinal history, and I'll get to it. But I think that's what Teddy deals with.
The 2-1 pitch.
Maybe I'll bring it to you tomorrow.
You'll forget.
I might.
Base hit into right. Hayward will throw to third, and the throw is cut off. Now, if the throw was on line, from our vantage point, not sure if Peralta is in line with third base. However, if he was, that throw, if it's on the bag, would have had him.
Well, there should be some communication from the third baseman Carpenter whether or not that's got a chance or not. And he seemed to be backing off, and maybe Matt Carpenter didn't believe there'd be a chance at third.
And that's going to be it for DeNorfia. So he's done. The Cubs have runners at first and third. I believe that's Soler. Here is Dexter Fowler. Excuse me, it's not Soler, it's Junior Lake. Runner at third base. So 2 outs and 2 on, and an 0-1 pitch to Dexter Fowler.
Not exactly sure what happened with DeNorfia. Here's where he goes home to third. I wonder if he touched second. Looked like he might have jumped over the bag there. He got a bit of a misstep, and you could tell something's wrong right away.
There's strike 2. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Two and 2. Martinez already at 86 pitches. You would think maybe one more inning. Maybe is right. The 2-2. And the count runs full.
He wanted that one. Walking off the mound. They kind of pat his chest there. He's saying that's my fault for complaining about that one, but again, the right call.
Three-two to Fowler. Got him. A strikeout of Dexter Fowler. Martinez strikes out the side. 6-4 midway through 3. You know it's a big game when Marlins man is here. I believe that gentleman is seated in the second row right behind home plate.
And it's a full moon.
That's Lawrence Levy. He lives in Miami Beach. I know he's an attorney, and you'll see him at various sporting events throughout the country in some of the best seats in the house. Johnny Peralta skies one into right center. Fowler is there and makes the catch. Junior Lake, by the way, stays in the game and takes over in right field. Nice round of applause for Mark Reynolds. If you're just joining us, a grand slam back in the first after the Cubs jumped out to a 5-run lead. Reynolds had a grand slam last year off of Irvin Santana. Year before that, Chris Sale. 2011, his first off of Ricky Romero. So 4 career grand slams. The shift is put on here for Reynolds. 2 balls and no strikes. Rizzo way off the bag at first base. 3-0.
And the answer is yes.
And if he is swinging, he could make it 6-5.
Well, you always ask me, so I'm just inside your brain a little bit.
Just throwing it out there.
Scary place to be, I might add. But I brought my flashlight here tonight, so just going to go right inside that brain of yours.
Uncalled for. 3-2.
Well, you have so much gray matter in there. I feel like I need
yeah.
that light.
3-2 pitch. Reynolds with a fly ball out to right. Junior Lake. 2 down. Right fielder Jason Hayward singled his first time up. The defense, it's been there. The offense, we're still waiting. Cardinals are trying various things to get him going, moving him out of the second spot in the lineup. Probably the biggest move so far. Take a little pressure off of Hayward. Carpenter now at that second spot. The 2-0. Center field. And Fowler is there. Cardinals go in order. We have played 3 here at Busch Stadium. Lots of offense early on. 6-4 Chicago. Carlos Martinez, 4th inning. 6-4 Chicago. By the way, the Chris Bryant play back in the 2nd inning. Hard hit ball to Carpenter, now overturned from an error to a base hit. It's Coghlan, Rizzo, and Bryant. And the first pitch in the dirt. The second game of a doubleheader last year, the Cubs scored 5 in the 2nd inning. That night, Travis Wood was the starter. Cardinals eventually won the game 9-6. The loser in that game is now wearing a Cardinal uniform, Carlos Villanueva. You would have to think Carlos would have an impact on this game, both Martinez and Villanueva.
Agreed. And it just has the feel of a game that the Cardinals might just come back and win this one too. That 4-run first inning, the home run, grand slam. Mark Reynolds really just kind of changed the feeling here at the ballpark.
Rizzo is homered to right center.
You know what you do mentally too, Dan, is you erase, somehow find a way to erase 5 runs in the first inning and just say, okay, I'm down 2-0. And it just doesn't sound as bad. All right, it's 2-0 early. Just keep my team in the game. We'll come back.
Popped up, and Colt Wong is there. Broken bat in on the hands of Rizzo. 2 down. Easier said than done, and I'm sure it's been a frustrating night for Carlos Martinez. Now the question would be, with Martinez, his spot is due up 3rd. He's at 92 pitches. If he gets a quick out here, you send him back out for the 5th.
I don't. I think if he gets through here, that's been a hard 92 pitches for Carlos Martinez. He threw about 30 or 40 of them out of whack. And so I don't know what the multiplier is. It's not an exact science, but it feels like 120 pitches for him. I can promise you that. Even though he's much better now, he's a lot slower in his delivery at the beginning. Not so rushed, not so much in a hurry.
0-2 on Bryant. He's worn down a bit.
Could be. Well, you think about a golfer and how important their kind of tempo is. His tempo is much slower at the start of his delivery. He's not in a rush. Right here, he's just pricking his leg up slowly and then exploding. Missed his release point there, but still like the delivery adjustment he's made.
Change up in the dirt, 2-2.
Velocity still there for Carlos Martinez, and another example of why velocity doesn't matter that much. Yes, it matters some, but that hasn't been his problem today.
Ooh, just missed. And the count runs full on Bryant.
So he's throwing a changeup here to Bryant because his curveball he doesn't trust today. He's been hanging it, been spinning it.
And a walk, a 2-out walk to Chris Bryant. In his first start of the season, he threw 100 pitches back on April 12th, and that's the most he has thrown in a game. Right now, 99, so you would have to assume this would be it for Carlos. Miguel Montero will be the hitter. He is singled and also grounded into a double play. A real concern for the Cardinals. Where are the innings going to come from with the loss of Adam Wainwright? Short outing like tonight for Martinez. Yes, off to a great start, without question. But
six plus every start other than this one for Carlos Martinez. You normally get 6+ from Lance Lynn and Michael Wacha, and so I think you're going to have moments where you're going to need Carlos Villanueva to go out there and pitch 4 or 5 innings. You just hope that's only once every 10 days or so.
Over the course of 6 months, Cardinals want to be very careful with Wacha and Martinez.
Well, that's a September problem, perhaps, but worth planning towards.
1-1 pitch. Hit the other way and well hit by Montero. Off the base of the wall. Played very well by Holiday. Hesitated though. Throw to the plate. Not in time. And look at the speed of Chris Bryant. He got around the bags very quickly. Looked like Holiday played that well. And then a little hesitation getting it back into the infield.
I'm not sure the infielders were ready for that. I'm not sure they were in position on the cutoff, and I think when Holiday came up to throw, he wasn't sure where that ball was going. He comes off the wall, turns. There's the double pump as he's waiting for the infielders who are still on the move. They may have been fooled by the fact that he didn't have much of a reaction at first on that ball over his head. And I thought he played it well, but again, everybody's kind of on the move late here, including Martinez backing up home.
Mike Matheny will go to his bullpen, and Carlos Villanueva is our Chevy called to the pen. Cardinals need innings, and the former Cub may supply him tonight. A wild first inning here at the ballpark. 72 pitches combined, 9 runs, 19 batters, a grand slam. Hyundai pitch arsenal for Villanueva.
Assortment of pitches, fastball. He uses off-speed pitches quite a bit. Has a good slider, and he's been used a lot lately. He's a long man, Dan, but that doesn't mean you can do that every day. And he has been extremely active. And he has been in 4 of the last 7 games for the Cardinals. And for a long man, that's a lot.
So runner at second base, 1 ball, 1 strike. The hitter is Starlin Castro.
That little movement with the arm is a move. Unfortunately, I recognize that, boy, I'm trying to figure out how my arm feels good today. And mentally, you just have to kind of get past that. He's been used a lot. You just have to find a way to get it done. I wouldn't imagine Villanueva has many innings in him today just because he's the long guy, as we mentioned. I got to believe he's a 2-inning guy max.
Yeah. And then you start thinking who else is out there and available to get you through the 9. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Junior Lake. Outfield is straight away, and a strikeout for Villanueva. When we come back, we'll hear from Ted Simmons. Announced today he's headed to the Cardinals Hall of Fame. It's Ted Simmons earlier today with Jim Hayes. Here's Colton Wong. And the 0-1 pitch. Taken for a ball. No, it is a strike. Wow. 0-2 the count on Colton Wong. Let's bring in Jimmy Hayes. Jim, Ted Simmons, pretty pumped up about heading to the Cardinals Hall of Fame?
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. I spoke to him before the game. I asked him to come on live in game, and he said he couldn't because he's working. He's a scout and a special assistant to the GM for the Mariners. He still lives in the St. Louis area, but he's always somewhere. Says he's at over 100 games a year. Tonight he's scouting both the Cards and Cubs. Says it's an honor to be recognized by a franchise like the Cardinals and to go in with the Cardinal Hall of Fame with his class, especially George Kissel, who he says was one of the greatest teachers baseball has ever seen, Dan.
Ted Simmons, Bob Forsch, Kurt Flood, George Kissel, all headed to the Cardinals Hall of Fame. That'll be August 15th, the induction ceremony, and we'll have it for you here on Fox Sports Midwest.
And I love those thoughts that Ted gave to Jim before the game today, and that sound, and you get an indication of just how thoughtful Ted is. When he talks, his words are carefully chosen, and he usually has some real deep and profound ideas to share, and he really is fun to be around. Good baseball man.
Done just about everything in the game too. GM, coach, scout. 2-2. And Wong waves at it, strikes out. Hustling though to the bag at first, and he is saved.
Rizzo loses his glove on this play as he tries to catch it and tag Colton Wong, and boy, that could have been disastrous for the Chicago Cubs. We've seen that injury before with the wrist, and it's going to be ruled as a strikeout and a wild pitch. Wong aboard. Let's see if the Cardinals can make that hurt.
Here's Tony Cruz. Walked his first time up. Chris Denorfia, when he left the game, it is a left hamstring injury. So his night is through, and Junior Lake took over in right field.
Villanueva in the on-deck circle. He will bat for himself. We thought he would at least go a couple of innings here and to get through his part of the order, and he'll just go as long as he can.
The check swing did not go. 2 balls and no strikes. There's been so much made of the youth of the Chicago Cubs, and rightfully so. Carlos Martinez is 105 days older than Chris Bryant. I mean, think about that. You know, Martinez has been around now a couple of years and in the rotation as Cruz pops it up a mile high on the infield. The aforementioned Bryant makes the play.
Well, Danny, I think to push your point even further, you can say there's a couple guys in this Cardinal team. When you say, hey, when's our young players going to get here and help this team? Well, they've already gotten here and they're already helping. Colton Wong, Michael Wacha, Carlos Martinez. That's a lot of good young arms. Ooh, did he get the bag?
Well, Villanueva was jogging down the line, and it wasn't a full sprint, and if he was, he's safe.
Cardinals still not sure what they think about it. David Bell phoning a friend.
Well, Villanueva. Watch him here. He's just nice, easy jog, head is down, and then throw off the line. That's when he decided to speed up.
Wow, that's an uncomfortable move. Actually gets it with his hand before he does with his foot.
John Jay on a hop towards short. Castro there makes the play. We played 4 here at Busch Stadium. Cubbies on top 7-4 and a long night for Carlos. All right, guys, thanks. Here's Junior Lake. 7-4 Chicago. Villanueva at the final out of the top of the 4th. And if you're Mike Matheny thinking along with him, you're wondering where are the innings going to come from tonight?
Which is the same kind of conversation the Cardinals were having last night, and so were the Pittsburgh Pirates. As the extra innings rolled on and both teams were running out of guys who were available after already having played an extra inning game in the series.
The high fly ball lifted out to center field. Jay back and makes the catch in front of the Budweiser sign.
And this is one of those games, and last night was too, where a manager is going to make a decision on how he uses his personnel that may not be as optimal as he would like to use in terms of matchups. So it's not what pitcher matches up better this inning, it's more who's available. And that's a very different way to have to manage, and not the ideal way. Now that can clear up in a couple of days. Somebody goes out and throws 8 innings and a start, and Rosenthal cleans up, and now all of a sudden everybody's rested. But that's not where Mike Matheny and Derek Lilliquist are now.
0-1 pitch to Travis Wood. The fly ball lifted down the right field line and fouled. No balls and 2 strikes. Wood with a single RBI back in the first. The Cubs sent 10 men to the plate that inning. Struck out in the 3rd. And bats here with 1 out. 0-2 count here in the top of the 5th. And there's second strikeout for Villanueva. Love the drink run with any size, any flavor McCafe shake for just $1.99 at McDonald's. Thomas and Russell 1 for 2. On a night that Curt Flood goes into the Cardinals Hall of Fame, you have Villanueva on the mound. Very much a big presence in the Players Association. Talking the other day about his education in the Dominican Republic. He said his dad sent him to a school that was bilingual. And the school, part of the education was learning about the United States, the history, the laws.
His teammates, by the way, call him Charlie, not Carlos. Part of that bilingual education, I'm sure. And I know that there's a great amount of respect for Villanueva, not just in the Cardinal clubhouse, but throughout baseball.
And a strikeout. He looks sharp. He has struck out 3 of the 4 he's seen. So Carlos Villanueva has come in and calm things down just a bit for the Cardinals. 7-4 midway through 5. A strike to Matt Carpenter, and we're underway. Old friend Jason Mott getting loose. You know he'll get a nice response from the crowd when he's introduced for the first time being back in St. Louis. No balls, 2 strikes. Carpenter is popped out to first and grounded out to second. Two is hit out of play.
You mentioned that Villanueva has restored order from the Cardinals' point of view. Unfortunately, so has Travis Wood for the Cubs. 3 straight zeros on the board, and he's kind of regained his composure a bit and been better in the last 3.
Here's the 0-2. Lifted down the left field line and out of play.
Villanueva said that that's actually what his coaches have said about him in the past. They said that's what you're good at doing. That's the best. That John Farrell, I believe, is who he said was the first coach he had, where he said, look, this is what you do. You restore order. You're good at that. And so far so good for the Cardinal right hand.
Villanueva now, if you include tonight, with 9 consecutive scoreless innings and counting.
The Cardinals bullpen overall, phenomenal numbers. Got a good feeling about this game.
The 1-2 and a swing and a miss, and Carpenter strikes out. Travis Wood has struck out 5. Let's go in the driver's seat with Kia. Matt Holliday digging in. So last 19 at home and 8 home runs against the Chicago Cubs. Holliday 1 for 2 tonight with a ground rule double.
Took that angle just to show you the speed of the game, and he throws a pitch 66 miles an hour the pitch before. He's got that slow curveball, Wood does, that he'll use every once in a while. He's got the slider that's quicker. Just a smart guy. I wouldn't say he's got the best stuff of any left-hander that you're going to see, but knows how to pitch.
2 balls and 1 strike. I would think the emotions right now for Jason Mott, this is not like warming up normally, you know, coming back to a place that you closed out a World Series. So many friends here in town. Did great charitable work. It's one thing to warm up at Wrigley Field against the Cardinals. It's another thing to do it here at Busch Stadium.
And if you're a big league pitcher, you have a degree of, I guess, thick-skinned nature that you develop where, you know, you're going to kind of be so, I guess, self-assured that you don't need to be justified as a player. But when you're playing against a team that lets you go, you still have a little bit of that. I mean, you can't help it. But to have a little bit of a, boy, I sure would like them to know how good I still am. And you want to do well against your former team. I just think that's human nature. Not just the fans, not just the experience, maybe his friends being here at the park, but you want to tell the organization, don't forget about Jason Motte.
Starlin Castro retires Holiday. So 2 outs, and it brings in the shortstop, Johnny Peralta. After a rough first inning for Travis Wood, had a 1-2-3 second and third. And the Cardinals have not had a base hit since the first inning. Cubs about hit the Cardinals 9-3. The only base runner the Cardinals had was after a strikeout. The ball scooted away from Montero, and Wong was aboard. So he is settled in. That's why I find it a little interesting that you see Motte up in this spot. And Travis Wood only at 81 pitches. Here's a 1-1. And a fair ball. Long throw for Bryant. Shows off the arm, and a strike over to Rizzo. Looking forward to that. Here's Dexter Fowler.
We also have Jack Clark here at the ballpark tomorrow. He'll be throwing out the first pitch.
Are you catching that?
I'm catching that. I have the honor of catching that. Very excited about that. It'll be good to see Jack. And of course, we're celebrating the 85 team all season long. And it's also going to be the Post-Dispatch Scholar Athlete Night at the ballpark. So all of the students who are not only good on the field and on the court, but also excelled in the classroom are being honored for their local area high schools. And been a long tradition for the Post-Dispatch to honor them here at the ballpark, and be excited to be a part of that. We're going to hear from Mitch Harris.
1-2 the count on Dexter Fowler. So 300 or so kids that are much smarter than us will be here.
I can't argue with that. Great futures ahead of them. We've had Cardinal players who are college graduates speak to them over the years, and you typically have maybe 2 on a team. And I know when that's kind of thrown out there, people think, no, that's not right. But it is. Very few college graduates in Major League Baseball.
When you think about it, either you're signed out of high school or you're in college for 3 years and then drafted. So you don't finish up in time.
Exactly.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Dexter Fowler. Walked and scored, fly to center, and has struck out. 7-4 Chicago here in the top of the 6th. And a check swing did not go. We have a fan that decided to make their way onto the field. Will not show this idiot. And that's why you see the reaction there of Carlos Villanueva. This fan is right by the right field line. I'd say a good 5 to 10 feet from the dirt on the infield. We will not show this person. Now, there's a lot of people that always ask, why don't you show him? Well, we're not going to give the person the recognition of being shown on television, and that's the reason why. It's also a mandate, Major League Baseball, to do that, and another individual has decided to run onto the field as well. This individual is running on the infield. And has done a somersault at the plate.
That fan is being subdued now by 5 ushers, 5 security personnel for the Cardinals, and a policeman on the field. And they're going to spend the night somewhere where they weren't planning on spending the night, deservedly so. And just a bad idea. And the fact that people are cheering for this guy is, well, it just doesn't make any sense. Interesting that there were some fans that were cheering initially, and then there was a round of boos to follow it.
Now the security folks that were on the field, they had their helmets that were on. Some of those came off. So they're collecting those as they get back in position. All the while that this has been going on, Villanueva has been just standing on the mound. Still not ready to go as we wait for one of the policemen to head back into the bullpen. They'll close up the bullpen door. And away we go. So nobody on. Leadoff man is Dexter Fowler. Nobody out, and a 3-2 pitch. And a strikeout. How about Carlos Villanueva? He's come in and struck out 4 of the 5 that he's seen.
And he does this one with the quick pitch. We've seen this before, and it throws off the timing of the hitter. And not only does he do a quick pitch, but he throws a slider with it. And that's a guy that knows what he's doing.
Now Chris Coghlan walked, scored back in the first, was called out on strikes in the second, and has grounded out to second base.
Dan, not to belabor the point, but Major League Baseball has become ultra security conscious, and they have made much more strict the rules about how fans are acting on the field towards one another, and certainly towards the player. There's players and coaches who are on the field, and they treat it as a dangerous situation, and they're going to handle it appropriately. Think about the time where the Kansas City Royal first base coach, I believe he was in Kansas City, got injured in Chicago seriously because of a fan coming on the field. And baseball really since that time, and for other reasons, has just said no more. Rightfully so.
2-1, well hit off the bat of Coghlan. Going back, it's Jay, and off his glove. Coghlan to second, now on his way to third. A triple for Coghlan. Nearly a tremendous catch out in center field by John Jay.
So close. Reaches out, has it in his glove, and it just can't stay in as he hits the warning track. Oh, so close. One more inch, he catches that ball. It sticks in his webbing a little bit more, and good effort for John Jay. Infield in for the Cardinals now. 3-run lead, 6th inning. Can't afford any more runs.
So the first hit against Villanueva. 1 out, runner at third. 7-4 Chicago. Rizzo at the plate. Looks at a strike. And I'll say it one more time. I know a lot of fans will tweet at us or Fox Sports Midwest and say, why aren't you showing the individuals? That is mandated from Major League Baseball. We do not show them. We can talk about it. For instance, his somersault to the plate, but we won't show it. One ball, one strike. I gave him a 9-2 on the somersault. The Russian gave him a 9. It's the Russian judge.
I give the fans that booed his exploits a 10, drowning out the smattering of people that were cheering for him.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. So Villanueva is at 29 pitches. No activity in the Cardinals pen. No activity for Chicago either. Rizzo is homered tonight. He's 1 for 3. The 2-1. Now 2-2.
Breaking ball has been very good, very sharp and short too. Not a big break to it, but enough that Cubs are swinging over top of it.
The 2-2. You know, the Cardinals bullpen has 5 guys now with 12 or more appearances. When you look at Segrist, Choate, Manus, Rosenthal, Walden, who's on the DL. There's Segrist on the left and Mitch Harris on the right. Both pitched in the game yesterday. And Villanueva, they're asking to go deep in this game if he can. 31 pitches. Runner at third is Coghlan, who is now 2 for 5 against Carlos, and both hits have been triples. Popped up. Infield was in. Peralta going out and dropped it. It's been that kind of night. 8-4 Chicago.
Never really seemed comfortable with that fly ball the whole way. He was playing in and he was going back, and he's probably thinking, well, I got to find a way to catch this ball and throw home, and he didn't do the first part. As it just kind of pops out of his glove, playing it off to the side, and certainly ruled an error. No RBI as Coghlan crosses the plate. It's the moon, Danny. There it is.
So an 8-4 Chicago lead. And Chris Bryant, a pair of walks, a couple of runs scored as Rizzo is back in safely. Two balls and no strikes.
Been that kind of day for the Cardinals. That pickoff play went to Rizzo, and he was already standing on the base.
Had not taken his lead.
And even when he takes his lead, it's not a lead.
He's about what, maybe 1-2 steps off the bag?
I mean, you at least normally get a step and a dive, and he's not even barely a step. Forget the dive. That's about where he was standing. Let's see if he stretches this lead out. Well, not really. Well, there it goes.
Surprising the Cardinals a little bit. And safe as Rizzo steals it.
Let's take another shot at that moon. There's the delayed steal. He thought he had sold the Cardinals. He might have been out. It looked like he might have been out there, but no one protesting that. So he lulled the Cardinals to sleep and then did the delayed steal. We're going to find out.
For Bryant.
Yeah, we're going to find out pretty quickly, Dan, what the Cardinals are thinking about in the bullpen, because there's action down there now as Carlos getting into some trouble here in the 6th inning. He's been so good.
Montero hits a ground ball to first. Reynolds will take it himself, steps on the bag. Runners advance to 2nd and 3rd.
He should be out of the inning right now. That's Miguel Sokolovich, who's the winning pitcher here yesterday afternoon or evening,
depending on how you want to look at it. It was a long day at the ballpark.
That was great, though. Terrific ball game. This has been sloppy so far, but not over yet.
I love the strategy of both managers and how to figure out to just get through the game. And you only have those types of games maybe once a year, once every other year. You think about in the National League, the double switching that takes place. No DH.
And then there are some that just like pure offense. You want runs any way you get it. So they love this game. But in my mind, this is sloppier baseball from the true sense of the way the game needs to be played or should be played. Pitchers not throwing strikes as often.
Runners at 2nd and 3rd, a 2-0 pitch. Hit to 3rd. Carpenter with it. And he makes the play. Cubs pick up a run, add to their lead. It's 8-4 midway through 6. Of 8-4 here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. He has our Yellowwood bringing the lumber. Reynolds with a grand slam back in the 1st inning. He's also flying out to right. The shift is on. Travis Wood, 6th inning of work for him, and he floats in a breaking ball for a strike.
Really, the story of the game so far is that the Cubs didn't have to bring the lumber in the 1st inning. They just had to bring their walking shoes. Carlos Martinez struggled with his command and his control. Walked 3 batters, the first 4 that he faced, and as often happens, get a couple of hits to follow, and then all of a sudden it's a big inning, and Reynolds with his grand slam at the bottom of the 1st certainly made this game interesting.
Reynolds with a base hit to left, and the Cardinals have their first hit since the 1st inning. Koch and Jason Mott getting loose.
First hit since the 1st inning, you say?
Yes, sir. Here's Hayward, who is 1 for 2. And that's a base hit into right. So Hayward is 2 for 3. At what point does Joe Maddon go to his bullpen? You've got Colt Long here.
Well, the Cubs
Long is 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts against Wood.
Yeah, Dan, the Cubs have not been used quite as often, talking about the Cubs relievers, although Koch has been in 2 straight games through 17 pitches yesterday. One of the 2 left-handers that they have, along with Zach Roskop. 5 right-handers in Joe Maddon's bullpen, and say Edwin Jackson thrown the most in the last couple of days. He threw 38 pitches 4 days ago. 23 pitches 2 days ago, so we may stay away from him, but I'd say fairly well rested in their bullpen.
Strike on Colton Wong. Prior to this inning, Colton Wong was the last base runner for the Cardinals. Reached base via the strikeout, but a wild pitch. Broken bat, center field, that'll drop. 3 consecutive hits. Run will score. That's Reynolds. It's now 8-5. And the tying run will come to the plate.
Can't go any further, can you? With Travis Wood. Cardinals have come out swinging here in the 6th inning. That's a pretty good slider down and away. Colton. And that bat died a hero.
We'll hear the reaction here for Jason Mott as he comes in from the Cubs bullpen. The Chevy Colt to the pen. Mazda game summary. Travis Wood pitches into the 6th. Montero is 2 for 4, 3 RBIs. Carlos Martinez a rough 3 2/3, and Mark Reynolds a grand slam. Right before we went to break, Jason Mott introduced to the folks here at Busch Stadium. Very nice round of applause.
And he's got to go from the applause to work.
So here we go. Tony Cruz with runners at first and second. He represents the tying run at the plate. 95 on the gun. And that's the bottom line with Jason Mott. Velocity.
Here it is.
If he can get it back to where it was prior to Tommy John.
Well, we know he worked on the cutter and worked on different off-speed pitches, which he was getting various degrees of success with. But, boy, when he's throwing 95, 96, that's when he's at his best.
Oh, 2.
.255 pitches already thrown in this game.
Peter Borges has moved to the on-deck circle.
I've been counting.
And Cruz is on that pitch. We've still got a ways to go, too. Just
Absolutely.
The way that this game is gone. Now you're into both bullpens. It's interesting.
Cardinals win in the 14th. There's my prediction. Why not?
Here's the 0-2. It was Derek Lilliquist that told Jason Mott his days as a catcher were over. In the minor leagues, Jason Mott thought about it for a good 24, 48 hours and said, well, if I want to keep playing this game, I guess I've got to convert to pitcher. Then made a rapid rise to the Cardinals minor league system. Cruz out to left center. And the catch is made. Hayward will tag up from second to third.
Productive out.
Peter Borges, be the Cardinals pinch hitter. We're starting to see the player that the Cardinals expected to get in the deal with the Angels. The hip surgery has clearly helped out. A lot more free and easy.
The quality of his at-bats have increased exponentially from a year ago. I mean, there were some at-bats that were hard to watch.
Even since spring training, too.
Agreed.
Jason Mott this season, 11 games. He's allowed runs in 2 of them against San Diego and Pittsburgh. No runs in the other 9. Junior Lake is shallow in right. Just about straight away in center and in left. Peter has that occasional pop as well.
Really still getting settled in as a Cardinal, isn't he? In some ways.
I think as the year goes on, we're going to see his playing time increase.
He's so unsettled. His walk-up song is a Dr. Dre song, and I asked him, is that one of your favorites? And he said, I don't even know what they play when I go up there. Nobody asked me. Talk about being unsettled.
That can't be it. You don't have your own walk-up song.
Yeah, that's right.
How do you play?
It's un-American.
It's un-American. Un-American.
Here we go.
The 2-1. I think you like this matchup because if Peter Borges strikes out, a lot of times you'll see that with the slider.
Exactly.
And we know Mott's slider is not better than many that you'll see come out of the pen. His fastball is, though.
And especially the slow ones, kind of the hard, big breaking, slow curveballs in the dirt.
Two and 2 the count. Borges with a fly ball into left center. Catch made by Fowler. Hayward will tag up and score. That makes it 8-6. RBI for Peter Borges.
So Tony Cruz, who was down 0-2 in his at-bat, managed to battle to get that fly ball deep into the outfield to advance Hayward to third. Is part of the reason the Cardinals have added another run here in the bottom of the 6th.
Phil Koch will be the new pitcher for the Chicago Cubs. Our Chevy call to the pen. That's it for Jason Mott. He gets 2 outs in relief of the starter Travis Wood. Koch against John Jay when we come back. Phil Koch is into the game. What he's done the last 7 days, and he'll deal now with John Jay. John Jay was hit by a pitch, scored a run, and also twice is grounded out to short. He represents the tying run here in the home half of the 6th. Colton Wong, the runner at first base.
Danny, this game is not going to be the kind of the perfect example of how speed of play has worked in baseball, but it is interesting to me. It's something that we haven't noticed, thought about, talked about in a couple of weeks probably. the clocks, and I think it's become so smooth. One of the downsides is we have to get out of break quickly and come back from commercial quickly, and unfortunately we missed, for our TV audience, the applause for Jason Mott, but it was nice for him to come back to St. Louis. He pitched well here. I'm sure he's very elated about that opportunity.
1 ball, 1 strike on John Jay. Matter of fact, in talking with some of the players, they have heard from Major League Baseball if they step out. It's being, watched very carefully.
It is. There's Jason.
Two balls and 1 strike. Wong a bigger lead this time. Not running, and the pitch is pulled foul. 2-2.
A lot of room down that right field line. Just daring him to pull the ball, aren't they?
Wong is running, and it's hit foul just past Jose Oquendo. Phil Koch has gone now 29 games, a span of 21 1/3 innings without allowing a home run. Last home run he gave up was to Gabby Sanchez of Pittsburgh last year. The 2-2 pitch. Here it comes. And it's a base hit into right. Wong to second, now on his way to third.
So many good at-bats against left-handed pitching for John Jay. He does not give in, does not give up, keeps his front shoulder in, and finds ways to get hits. Rizzo holding on Wong. A long way to run for Junior Lake in right field to run down that baseball.
Matt Carpenter a hitless tonight. He has popped out, grounded out, and struck out. So the tying runs through everything that's happened going against the Cardinals tonight. They have the tying runs on base and the go-ahead run at the plate. Matt Holliday is on deck. .500 with runners in scoring position this year. What a good cut. 0-2. Carpenter may get a new bat. He checks it. Four hits in the inning for St. Louis. The 0-2 to Carpenter.
Matt Carpenter never seems overmatched. Numbers with runners in scoring position. He and Matt Holliday both over 500 so far this season. Can he do it again?
One, two, lifted in the air. This should do it. The Cardinals will strand two, and the catch is made. St. Louis picks up two, and they cut into the lead. It's 8-6.
And our Chevy call to the bullpen. Miguel Sokolovic was the winning pitcher here last night. Pitched just an inning, but he pitched the right inning as the Cardinals came back thanks to Colton Wong and won an extra inning contest against the Pittsburgh Pirates. What a series that was over the weekend. Bit of a sloppy game here so far, but the Cardinals have fought their way back. And as we start the 7th, it's just a 2-run game. 8 runs, 10 hits, and no errors for the Cubs. The Cardinals, 6 runs, 7 hits, and a costly error by Johnny Peralta.
And a strike to Junior Lake, and we're underway here in the top of the 7th, 8-6. I don't know about you, it has the feel of one of these games that the Cardinals should not be this close. I mean, they're within 2 runs.
No question.
The way that this game started, off of Carlos Martinez, a 5-run Chicago top of the 1st.
2 1/3 innings out of Carlos Villanueva in relief. He gave up 1 run, but that was unearned. And again, we would just, not for the error, have a 1-run game. Villanueva giving up just the 1 hit, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. Another terrific job by him.
It's sharply to short. Peralta bobbled it just a bit in the exchange, and diving in head first safely, Junior Lake. So the leadoff man is aboard. Lake is now filling in for Denorfia, who left with a hamstring injury. Couldn't get it out of the glove.
Yeah, no chance probably to make this play anyway. There's the bobble and then the throw, but Lake already flying across the bag.
Wellington Castillo. The Cubs right now carry 3 catchers. Castillo and then David Ross, who basically is the personal catcher for John Lester.
Sokolovic has a very good changeup. We saw that yesterday. He's going to use it a lot. It's his go-to pitch.
Runner goes. Pitch is popped up in foul behind home plate.
Remember the Cubs bullpen for a short time in 2012. Pitched just 6 games there. You mentioned that he went on to play in Japan in 2013. Bounced around in the Red Sox organization when he began his career after signing at the age of 16 from Caracas, Venezuela.
Sokolovic from Venezuela.
You got it.
There's the 0-2. Lake is running again, and the throw down to second, not in time. So a strikeout and a stolen base for Junior Lake.
Tony Cruz wants to stay down on that ball to stay with it. There's the swing through, and not really in a good position to make that throw. Pretty good jump as well for Lake.
Addison Russell. Russell is 1 for 3 tonight. And a ground ball that's hit to short. Peralta looks back Lake, and the tag by Reynolds. He was off the bag. Mark Reynolds applies the tag.
Reynolds has made a couple of nice plays at first base today. Turned a double play, 3-6-3. And on that tag there, he had to be very careful to make sure you catch the ball first, then get the out. Then get some more sunflower seeds. That was his reward for a good play.
Carries the whole bag out there, doesn't he?
He does.
Reynolds, well, he might have 2 bags of seeds after that play.
Yeah, give the man more seeds. Nice play.
Right on the line, time to stretch. Sokolovic is scoreless frame. Cardinals player hits a home run, the Gateway Honda dealers will donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. It'll be Holiday, Peralta, and Reynolds for St. Louis, trailing by the score of 8-6 in the home half of the 7th. Overlooked to an extent in this great start that the Cardinals have had. The offense has not been to the level that it probably needs to be over the course of 6 months because the pitching has been so good.
Might say that about a lot of teams in baseball too.
Yeah.
The Cardinals aren't alone in that, and you know they've had some stretches where they've done well offensively, but not every night. And I think they're still searching for that, but certainly have the right pieces in place. It's a matter of being more consistent.
A swing and a miss. Pedro Strop is the new pitcher for Chicago, and that pitch you just saw, a slider, when right, is devastating.
He's got a nasty slider already. 13 appearances, 14 strikeouts in 11 innings. So he knows how to put hitters away, and the slider is usually the choice.
Then you mix in a mid-90s fastball, and you can understand why the Cubs have talked about potentially Strop being a closer, but they like him in this role.
Wears his hat like a left-hander, but other than that, I like him.
One ball and 2 strikes. So you don't like that look, huh, Rick, that Strop's got going right now?
I just think he's not allowed to do that. I think left-handers kind of have a patent on that look. Kind of the hat slightly askew.
Slightly?
And all the thoughts inside the brain slightly askew. It kind of goes together. He's not in the club.
Here's a 1-2. Ooh. Up the middle. Russell backhands and safe at first. Gives you an idea, though, of the glove, range, and potential defensively of Addison Russell.
Very athletic play there, wasn't it?
Sure was. So it's a 2-hit night for Matt Holliday.
Such a young Cubs infield with a lot of flair and a lot of talent.
And again, the tying run comes to the plate. Tough night defensively this evening for Johnny Peralta. He could change that with one swing. Foul ball. Peralta has walked and scored back in the first on the grand slam by Reynolds. Also flied out to center and grounded out to third. You just get the feeling this game is long from over.
Oh, yeah.
So again, the Cardinals have the tying run at the plate. 0-1 pitch. A slider in the dirt. Peralta is 4 for 10. It's either a base hit or a strikeout. Off this right-hander.
Saw the knees buckle there of Johnny Peralta. That's a good indication. You know, it's not the first time Johnny Peralta's ever seen a slider. So when a big league hitter buckles like that, you're talking nasty.
Out of play. Strop, opponents hitting 132 against him. Came into play 11 1/3 innings thrown, 14 strikeouts. Rendon is their closer. He has 5 saves this season. And a 1-2 to Peralta. And that's a base hit into left center field. That ball is down. Holliday digging for third. The first 2 have ranged off of Pedro Strop.
Peralta got just enough of that and was actually thinking about two and ran really quickly around second base. There he's jammed, muscles it in the left center field. And here's Holiday seeing it down. No problem getting first to third, but Johnny Peralta had to put on the brakes in a hurry because he wanted a double and made the wise decision to come back.
This is old-fashioned hardball right here.
Yes, it is.
Strop and Reynolds. Shift applied by the Cubs. And that pitch in the dirt. You think about the slider, potential of a wild pitch.
I think about the slider. I think about the Cubs. I think about a reliever with nasty stuff. I think about Carlos Marmol. Adrian Chambers, I think about him leading off a third, scampering across the plate with the game-winning run.
One of the famous moments of 2011.
What a game that was. Wow.
Now Bosio, Chris Bosio, pitching coach of the Cubs. We'll check on Strop.
You have to think about wild pitches and ball getting away when you've got a reliever that is as nasty as Pedro Strop is. He's not easy to catch, and neither was Carlos Marmol.
Reynolds a grand slam. That was back in the first. He's also flied out to right and singled to left. He scored 2 runs, 4 RBIs, 2 hits.
There have been so many great Cardinal Cub moments over the years, haven't there?
So much fun over the years. Stan the Man's 3,000 hit at Wrigley Field.
I don't know how many times I've seen the video of that hit, Dan, and I know I wasn't there. I'm 100% sure of that. But you kind of feel like you were if you were a Cardinal fan.
1-1. There's that wild pitch we were thinking about.
You just see it coming. Montero smothered that one.
You know, over the years, Montero and Molina have been the workhorses of the National League in terms of innings caught.
That was a perfect view of the dot on the slider. We talk about having a little dot on it. And when it's a small little dot, it's sharp.
2-1 pitch. Pedro Strop is not allowed a home run in his last 72 games. Span of 67 2/3 innings. Here's a 2-2 pitch.
So that moment, Dan, that we remember, Adrian Chambers, Carlos Marmol, the Cardinals have been fighting back. It's September 24th. That pitch gets away, bounces away, and there comes Adrian Chambers, and this place went crazy. Tremendous come from behind victory.
The 2-2. Tapped foul to Jose Oquendo. Adrian Chambers then left the organization, was with Houston. Three and 2 on Reynolds. Jason Hayward is on deck. Inside, bases loaded, nobody out. Lefty getting loose in the pen. That's Roskup, and that'll be it for Pedro Strop. Roskup coming on with the bases loaded, no one out. Zach Roskup, our Chevy called to the pen. 10th appearance, .93 ERA. Inning started with a base hit by Holiday, followed up by Peralta. Reynolds the walk. Bases loaded, nobody out. 8-6 Chicago. In a game in which they led 5-0 at one point. Six for 17 with the bases loaded against Roskup this year. The 1-0. Hayward hits it off the end of the bat, and it is a foul ball.
Cubs are back on their heels right now, aren't they?
No doubt.
Hayward can make that feeling worse.
And the 1-1. Hayward wants a new bat. What was odd was that we came back from break and Jason Hayward was having a long conversation with the home plate umpire. And now in the middle of an at-bat, he asked for a new bat. See if it pays off. Left side, Bryant, nice play. Run will score. Hayward safe at first. They get one out, and it makes it an 8-7 ball game.
Nice play going to his left. Bryant's made a couple of errors in the early going for the Cubs, but he looked good on that play. No chance to get Hayward. And the Cardinals are chipping away.
Joe Madden again out to visit.
He's been busy today.
Yes, he has. So one out. Colton Wong will be the hitter. RBI single back in the 6th. And it was his single that knocked out the starter at the time, Travis Wood, a hero yesterday. And Wong takes ball one. Runners at first and third. The 1-0 pitch. Big crowd ready to erupt. The 1-1 to Colton Wong. Little flare. Base hit. This game is tied. Colton Wong comes through. Hayward challenging the outfield of the Cubs. It pays off. 2 runners in scoring position. Wong back-to-back games. Big hits.
And another hit lefty on lefty for Colton Wong. Serves this into left field. And love the base running of Hayward. Right in front of him. He takes third. Slides hard, and Wong trails that play into second base.
Ricky, that could be the play of the game. Hayward from first to third on a ball like that.
100%. That is very, very important base running, taking that extra base, putting pressure. There's already pressure on this Cubs team. We've made that point. They're on their heels. When they're on their heels, push them back further.
Now it is Tony Cruz. The infield is brought in. Colton Wong comes through again. Runners at second and third. 8-8 our score. One of the great traits of this club early on, they just do not give in. Would have been easy after a long weekend, trailing then 5-0 in the first, to say, all right, not our night. Not this team.
Carlos Martinez now off the hook. Carlos Villanueva now again the man that righted the ship.
The 1-0. Cruz. Base hit. Cardinals have the lead. Tony Cruz on his way to second base. A double that scores 2. Busch Stadium has erupted.
If you like pitching, we are so glad you were with us over the weekend. And if you like offense, you've come to the right place tonight. Tony
That's a good
Cruz,
way to put it.
Oh, man. Something for everybody. And that's something for Carlos Martinez. Feeling a lot better right now. Dialed in. Tony Cruz.
10-8 now. Cardinals with the lead. Pete Kozma will be the pinch hitter. Matt Belisle is warming up at the Cardinals pen.
And our thoughts return there.
Now you start thinking about who could close a game out. On a couple of hops. Hit to second. Cruz advancing from second to third. The way that things have come together, how do you not love this team? I mean, the quit, the lack of quit, the fire. It is a trait early on with Mike Matheny's club. Now it's John Jay with 2 outs and a runner at third.
Good teams find a way. And the Cardinals are showing themselves to be a good team in the early going. You know, every team has pieces, talent in different places, pitchers, hitters, speed, defense. But if it doesn't come together well, it doesn't matter.
Slowly hit to the right side, but a foul ball.
Cardinals have won a lot of close games in the early going. And again, that's what good teams do, and Mike Matheny has to be thrilled with what he's seeing. Again, he's thinking about those innings left in his bullpen right now. But on the flip side, Joe Maddon has the psyche of his young players to think about. And how do they handle allowing a team to get back in a ball game like this?
The 1-1 to Jay.
Cruz barely getting out of the way of that line drive, and Okendo as well. A little slicer. They both have their hearts beating a little extra fast right now.
We talk all the time throughout the regular season. This could be a defining moment in the game or a defining win. The Cardinals have had already a number of those. We're not even 30 games into the season. The 1-2. Ground ball hit to the right side. Addison Russell is there. The Cardinals pick up 4 in the bottom of the 7th. And they have their first lead of the night. Let's go to our studio at a Bommarito Sports Update. What a way to start that era, beating Clayton Kershaw. They've got Zach Greinke tomorrow. Matt Belisle is the new pitcher for St. Louis. Chris Coghlan leads it off for the Cubs here in the top of the 8th.
Must be a good manager if he beat Clayton Kershaw. Kyle Loesch started in that game, and 3 late runs against the National League's best. Chevy called to the bullpen. Belisle has the 8th, and I dare say you may leave him out there for a while in the 9th, depending upon how the 8th goes.
Yeah, I was thinking, do you extend him out if it's a quick 8th inning, or do you look at maybe Seth Maness? You wouldn't think it would be Rosenthal. He's pitched an awful lot, 3 days in a row coming into this, and I believe 4 out of the last 5.
I think you could use Randy Choate perhaps against Miguel Montero, whether that's this inning or next inning. I think that's another option.
Hit to the right side. Diving stop by Reynolds to Belisle. What a play that was. He threw about a 90-mile-an-hour fastball to Belisle, who's just trying to get to the bag, and out of self-defense made the catch.
That's how I saw it. How about the play, though, by Reynolds, who's been terrific defensively today? There's the flip.
A flip?
Well, I'm going to call it a 98-mile-an-hour flip, about face high.
What a night for Mark Reynolds.
You're taught, get it to the pitcher as quickly as possible.
There you go.
And he did.
He did. I mean, that's not an easy play for the pitcher. Running, finding the bag. I mean, you've done it.
And here's the deal. And you learned this in spring training. Don't wait to try to time it so they catch it when they go over the bat. You're not leading. Just get it to him as soon as you can get it to the pitcher, so then he can have the ball in his hand while he tries to find the bag. If you're trying to just time it over the bag, you make it a harder job for the pitcher. That's talked about every spring training, but it's your inclination to do it. But big picture, the defense of Reynolds has been a difference in this game.
Sure.
And his offense.
Anthony Rizzo at the plate is homered, reached on an air. Belisle. 2 balls and 1 strike. Here's a 2-1. 2-2. Matt Belisle appearing in his 12th game with an ERA of .90.
And a tough assignment for him. Not only is he pitching the 8th inning, but he has 2, 3, 4 for the Cubs. So far, so good.
And he got him a strikeout of Rizzo.
Backdoor slider. Backdoor is open. Got the call.
Rick, if the Cardinals can hold on and win this game tonight, they go to 10 games above 500 already at home, 12-2, and it would be their 7th win in a row. Still 4 outs to get. Here's Chris Bryant.
And they would be plus 13 overall, and Mark Reynolds would bring out the lineup card again tomorrow.
You bet he would. Here's the 0-1. Now 0-2. That's the other thing that you love about Belisle. A strike thrower coming out of the pen. He's only had 3 walks, and he has struck out 9 now this year.
So he reminds me of Manus a little bit in the bullpen. Manus more of a sinker, changeup guy. Belisle more of a sinker slider guy. And there's the slider. Both guys not overpowering, but both guys work quickly. And you're going to get a lot of strikes from them.
One-two pitch.
And the easiest way to let the Cubs back in the game that was once theirs is to start walking guys in the 8th and 9th inning.
Chris Bryant has walked 3 times today. The 2-2. For a guy that has been in the league a couple of weeks,
everybody's afraid of him.
I'm telling you, there's a lot of respect for this guy.
There is, I know. I was thinking the same thing.
Here's a 3-2. It's kind of like when you look at Bryce Harper, and for a while he was leading the league in walks, and everybody says, you know, the players say they vote, and it's not naming names, but they vote and they say, okay, he's the most overrated player in the league. Yet
you didn't need names because it was an overwhelming vote.
Exactly. But yet he's walked the most. There's some respect there. And a 2-out walk to Chris Bryant.
Just what you don't need. Now you have the left-handed hitting Montero, who has some power, 3 home runs already this season, and I just think he can flat out hit. Really like him as a player.
So the question, I guess, if you're Mike Matheny, does Choate come in to face Montero, which he's not, because on the flip side, Joe Madden then could say, all right, David Ross is going to face Choate, but he carried 3 catches like this.
And maybe you save Choate for potential Anthony Rizzo in the 9th coming back around. You hope you don't get that far, but you never know.
One for 13. That's another good reason why Matt Belisle is still in this game. Right-hander is throwing now in the Cardinals' pen. And that's Seth Maness. A 1-0 to Montero. That's taken high. 2 balls, no strikes.
Belisle, the strike thrower, has become Belisle, the missing all over the place. A walk, now 3-0 on Montero. And I wonder if he gets the green light here. Tying run in the 8th inning. Looked to me that Tony Cruz was setting up off the plate. Look where he's setting up on a 3-0 pitch to Montero. Hits the glove. Could they possibly be pitching around Montero? Again, off the plate.
It's a time called. Herrera will pinch run for Montero. Edwin Jackson is throwing in the bullpen for the Cubs. It was odd, though, to see Cruz set up as far outside that he was.
Setting up off the plate on a 3-0 pitch to Montero. That's just odd to me.
So back-to-back walks. Herrera is your new runner at first base. That's Jonathan Herrera. And Starlin Castro will be the hitter. The Cubs have received 7 walks tonight. 2 outs, 2 on. First pitch to Castro is taken for a ball.
Said the worst thing you could do is to walk batters in the 8th and 9th inning to let the Cubs back in it. And looking at tying run at first base, good speed, good hitter at the plate.
And he did go.
Thought it was a strike anyway.
1 ball, 1 strike. Castro tonight was struck out twice. He singled back in the first, picked up an RBI, scored a run, is also grounded out to third. The 1-1. Now 1-2. One-two pitch to Starlin Castro as he stays alive. If you're wondering, Castro with 2 home runs this year. For what at times has been a lack of defense with Starlin Castro, the offense for the most part has been there since day one. Good hitter.
Solid hitter.
The 1-2 pitch, Belial to Starlin Castro. Ground ball. Peralta quickly to first. Belial a scoreless top of the 8th. Hits aside, the Cardinals with a 10-8 lead in what has been a crazy game. New pitcher in for the Chicago Cubs. And Matt Carpenter will lead it off. Gonzalez Hermain. New pitcher in for Chicago. Carpenter is hitless tonight. And the first pitch is a strike. Only pitchers remaining for Chicago, Edwin Jackson and Hector Rondon. David Ross is the new catcher. No balls and 2 strikes on Carpenter. Who's popped out, grounded out, struck out, and flied out. 0 for 4. And he waves at it and strikes out for the second time. Holiday is your hitter with 1 out. The Cardinals leading by 2 runs. Matt has scored a couple tonight, and he's 2 for 4. Cubs on the bottom of the lineup, looking ahead to the top of the 9th. Herman was claimed off of waivers by the Cubs back in January. And was promoted to the big leagues back on April 19th. Lyons and Hendricks tomorrow. Lance Lynn and John Lester, good matchup on Wednesday. Wrap up the homestand with John Lackey and Jake Arrieta on Thursday. Cardinals then head on to Pittsburgh for a 3-game weekend series. Off day on Monday. Interleague play against the Cleveland Indians. Here's a 1-1. We thought it might be Seth Maness in the 9th, and it looks like that's the direction the Cardinals will go in. By the way, Herrera stays in the game after pinch running for Montero. He's at second base. And then Addison Russell moves from second to short. Strike on Holiday.
The pitcher now hitting in that 6th spot with a double switch.
So you have Lake, Ross, and Russell coming up in the top of the 9th. Three-two pitch, and a walk to Holiday. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Cardinals with more work to do, but it might be hard pressed to think what was the most important hit that the Cardinals have gotten today. Go back to Mark Reynolds' grand slam in the 1st inning, but certainly Tony Cruz is double down the line. Colton Wong's base hit into left center field is a key hit in this game. There's been plenty of them. Jason Hayward able to go 1st to 3rd. 2-hit night for him. Matt Holliday leading the inning off with a base hit. I mean, a lot of important things going on offensively for the Cardinals today and defensively.
So 1 out, a runner at first. 1 ball and no strikes on Peralta. Peralta hits into a double play. 6-4-3 go the Cardinals with that double play. And now Seth Maness coming on as we head to the 9th. Going over his card with the home plate umpire. We've had a ton of changes in this game too.
Well, before that happened, Joe Madden came out and was doing some explaining to our home plate umpire. Matheny was watching him. There was a lot of conversation going on towards the Cubs dugout, and then John Hirschbeck, the crew chief, wanted to make sure that Mike Matheny was on the same page and everybody's hitting in the right spot.
Last time allowing 5 runs in the first against the Cubs was back in 2011. The Cardinals won that game 13-5. So Junior Lake the first pitch is a strike. The Chevy called to the pin. Soler has moved to the on-deck circle. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike. So you could have Lake, the pitcher spot, and then Russell.
They just changed that on the board.
Yeah.
That they put the pitcher spot in the 8th spot and not the 6th.
Liner and caught by Colton. Thought he may have to jump. Then a sinking liner into his glove. Positioned perfectly. Mark Reynolds has been busy today. Defensively, some good plays here.
Dive to his right, the bullet, and he throws to Belisle from his knees. But Dan, this is what he does in the first inning. Give the Cardinals a fighting chance. After giving up 5 runs in the top of the first, he gets 4 back with a swing of the bat. He's our Budweiser player of the game. 2 for 3, grand slam, and again the good defense.
Good slider that time by Seth Maness to Jorge Soler. Are you following this Cubs lineup now?
No, it can't be the way the board's looking at it, because you can't have moved Castro in the lineup. So I think he must just be pinch hitting for Ross. The only thing that makes sense.
Right.
Even though the board says he's pinch hitting for the pitcher.
And that's what Mike Matheny, I think, is questioning right now, because initially I thought Ross would be in this spot right here.
If you take Castro out of the game, you can't move his position somewhere else. You just can't do that.
And the way I had it written down per the double switch would have been Ross hitting in this spot that is occupied right now by Soler.
Correct.
Soler, by the way, has struck out 38 times.
Just try to get him out and figure it out tomorrow.
Yeah. 2 down. Seth Maness has gotten the first 2 outs here in the top of the 9th. And what a win this would be on the heels of 3 great wins over the weekend. Strike at the knees to Addison Russell. Oh, and 2. Fly ball lifted out to deep left field, and this ball is gone. It's a home run. Cuts a lead at 10-9. Home run for Addison Russell, and that's his 2nd in the big leagues.
Looked like that pitch was in his sweet spot, down and in. He gets most of it, if not all of it.
Strike to Dexter Fowler.
I am not doing another game with you with a full moon, Dan.
A line out, and the Cardinals hold on for the win. 10-9 the final. St. Louis now has won 7 in a row. The lead in the Central, 5.5.
The best start in the history of the St. Louis Cardinals at 19-6, and what a crazy game this was. I mean, it wasn't a pretty game, but if you're going to play a game that's not sharp, a lot of pitches, a lot of crazy plays, you might as well win it, and that's what the Cardinals did. The Cubs, good young team, will come back fighting tomorrow.
Missouri Lottery post-game show comes your way next with Al Raboski and Pat Paris. All the highlights and scores from around the league. 10-9 our final.